So we're going to start looking at fractions with algebraic terms, which means that we really have to understand what's going on with numbers first. And the algebraic pieces are going to act like numbers, but we need to understand how the number pieces work. And it's important to understand that it's all about times and divide. So if we have times and divide pieces, we can do this very easily. We can treat them as times on top, divide on bottom. Times and divide will undo each other. But once we start putting pluses in there, we have to be really, really careful. Okay, that becomes actually a big problem. So let's start with these fractions here. Let's start with numbers. So if I am multiplying 1/2 times 2/3, we know that this is really just one big fraction with times on top, divide on bottom. I have a times 2, divide 2, they'll undo each other. So when I undo with times or divide, I'm left with 1, and it's going to be 1/3. To do this, I really should show the factors involved here. So I'm going to have 3 times 4 on top. On the bottom, I want to cancel the common factor of 4 that's embedded in the 8, and I have a common factor of 3 that's embedded in the 6. Okay, so this times 3 and divide 3 will cancel. This times 4 and divide 4 will cancel. Anytime we cancel out with times or divide or undo, we're always left with 1. Okay, so 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I end up with 1 on top, and then 2 times 2, which is a 1/4 on bottom. That's 4 on bottom. Okay, so the idea is if we can see the times and divide pieces, again, as long as it's all times and divide, if there's pluses in there, we got a big problem. Okay, but this is all times and divide, so we can just undo times with the divide. So in this example here, although we don't know what y is, and we don't know what x is, we know that they're the same. And we know that this is just all multiplication, so really this is just one big fraction line here. And everything on top is multiply, everything on the bottom is divide. So what I can then do is, I can say is, well, times y and divide by y, really they're just going to undo each other. Again, we don't know what it could be. 100, could be a million, could be -8. We don't know. But what we do know is that times y and divide y always end up being 1. Times x and divide x, they cancel out as well. Okay, so what we're left with then is, I have 6 on top, times 6 on top, divide by 5 on bottom, and that's it. That's all that's left over. So same thing here. If I have times on top, divide on bottom, again it's all times, so everything's in the right place. All the times are on top here, all the divides are on bottom here, and we know that times a and divide a undo each other, and so we're just left with 1 divide by 3 divide by b. Okay, so this is the idea behind what we're doing here then. We're just looking for factors. As long as we have the times and divides in the right places, okay, we can undo times with divides, and we can undo divides with times. So here we have multiplication. Okay, as long as everything's times and divide, we're okay. So here we're going to have times 18. I'm going to change the 18 into 9 times 2 because I can see that there's a common factor of 2 down there. Then I have times by b times by a. All the times are on top of a fraction. All the divides are on the bottom. So I'm going to change that to 2 times 4 times b times c. So I'm going to look for all the common factors. So times by a, divide by a. Times by 2, divide by 2. Times by b, divide by b. As long as they're the same, and it's all connected with times and divide and not plus and minus, we can just simplify in this way. So now what's left is just 9 on top. I have 4 times c on bottom. So there's my answer. Okay. For this one, we have, at least we don't have times, we have divide, But again, we have no pluses, so this is all about times and divides. As long as I get my times and divides in the right spots, I'm okay. Okay, so this 3x is a times 3x. This 12y is a divide by 12y. I can see that there's a common factor of 6, so I might try to factor. Ooh, I'm just going to actually make sure I get everything in the right spot first. Okay, so then this 6x is a divide by 6x. So this literally says divide by 6x. So the 6x should go on the bottom. Okay, this is divide by 8y. Divide is opposite, so that should end up in the numerator. So now that I have everything in the right spot, okay, I have the times on top, divides on bottom, I'm going to see what I can cancel out. I see I've got an 8 and a 12. Those are going to cancel out, so I'm going to have a times 4 times 2 times y. Okay, I can see that on the bottom I need to factor the 4 out of there, so I'm going to go 4 times 3. There's a times y. The 6 is going to cancel with the 3 up there, or we can just use that 3, so I'm just going to leave that as 6x. Okay, so there's an extra 2 there. I should actually split that up. So this is going to be times 2 times 3 times x for 6x. So I can see that the pieces that cancel are going to be times 3 divide 3, times 4 divide 4, times 2 divide 2. What about the algebraic pieces? Again, although I don't know what x is, I know it's multiplication and division, so I know that times x, divide by x cancel. Times by y, divide by y cancels. Almost everything cancels there except for the 3 on the bottom. And again, when we undo with times and divide, we're always left with 1. Okay, so there's my answer to that.